G'day guys, what's cracking? Tonight I have some important news to share, and that is that on the Gold Coast it's finally beanie weather. Yeah, I've been a long time believer that if it's cold all you need is a beanie. You can be completely starkers. As long as you've got a beanie you will be indecent, but you will be warm. And tonight I'm going to put my beanie on as we go outside because I want to show you something, but well, come with me. I'm under Sundale Bridge, which is the northern bridge out of Surfers Paradise on the Gold Coast. And a while ago I discovered this shot behind me. And so I'll take a shot of it now so you can see what it's like. And this is a shot that is quite a popular shot. Like, not everyone does it, but it's a frequent shot. And I was down in this vicinity the other day shooting another vlog. And I went for a walk afterwards and I discovered two things. One, I discovered there's an osprey nest just over here, which in the right moment we'll come and shoot and do a vlog for. But the other thing I discovered is a unique shot using this idea, but not here, just over here. I've never seen a shot from this location, this particular location, that shoots all the way between the bridge lanes and nails Q1. Q1 is the highest residential building in the southern hemisphere. It is the icon of the Gold Coast, and I think I've discovered a shot that nobody else has taken. And so we're going to have some fun with this shot tonight and see what we can creatively draw out of it. I usually don't have the comfort of a shot like this. There's a big concrete shelf that I can put all my stuff on. I'm on a path. Like, I'm sheltered if it rains. Unbelievable. The number one challenge of shooting this shot is working out what focal length. And I don't know if you're familiar with it, but there's an app called Magic Viewfinder, and then there's a Nikon one and a Canon one, I think a Fuji one and a Sony one. Anyway, if you go to Nikon Viewfinder, which I'm going to do right now, I couldn't see it, but here it is, okay? So here's the deal about this. If I pointed at what I'm shooting, and you can see the screen record, right? And then on the bottom, you can choose what millimeters. So if I had, at the moment, if I had a 14mm, that's how wide it would shoot. And then if I had a 24, that's how wide it would shoot. And if I went up to a 50, that's how wide it would shoot. If I shot at 70, that's what we're looking at. And if I went all the way to 200, we start to be in business. So that's at 200, and it's not that clear. There you go, it is clear, boom, and that, guys, is the shot that I want this evening. So we're going to use my 70 to 200 on my Z9, which will give me 45 megapixels that I can crop a little bit should I need to. And I'm going to take a long exposure of this, and then I'm going to see if I can take a long exposure of, say, 900 seconds with a filter on. I've got some cool ones from Nissy, and so we're just going to give it a crackerjack. When you're shooting astro, you want your kit, your getup, to be as stable as possible. And this is quite a heavy lens, and so when you have the body on here, if the body is what's attached to the tripod, the whole thing can just gradually lean over, even if you've got it really, really tight. And so I'm using the stand that comes with the lens. You simply click it on, and you tighten it down. That's what it looks like. And this bit attaches to the tripod. That's got a base plate on it. It enables more stability. You can also change the orientation of the lens and the camera by swiveling this around rather than taking your camera off and putting it the other way, because I'm going to need to shoot this portrait to get a feel for what we're after. So now I'm going to put this on my Z9 and I'm going to show you what we're dealing with. So this is what my setup looks like, and right now you can see what I've just done, how I've orientated the screen to capture, and all of a sudden, I don't know about you, but I'm looking at this, I'm like, oh, there's a shot there, that looks really, really cool. Now there's trams going by overhead, just hurtling by, lots of cars, that's that and there's cyclists coming past, check it out. So Thomas Heaton would have a fit about like vlogging here, and talking about having a fit, my wife would lose her mind if she knew what I was doing right now. Oh, he even said sorry. How nice is that? It did have to be sorry. It's okay. You're most welcome. Yeah, so there's this homeless guys that live here. It's kind of a sketchy part of town. I'm kind of isolated from any help and anything like that. So if something happens to me, please call Lyndall. And if something really tragic happens to me, tell her I love her and the kids as well. But I think we'll be all right. The guys are coming back now on their bikes. Nah, you're all good. Nah, fine. How nice is that? Yeah. Gold Coast spirit. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm now going to take a shot, and I've positioned myself exactly in between these two the parts of the bridge, and I've done that so that there's leading lines that zoom you all the way from where we are all the way to my subject, and my subject is Q1. I'm on 200, and 200 allows me to get the reflection of the water. Now the reflection of the water won't be of Q1. It couldn't possibly be, because Q1 is so far back that there's no way you'd ever get any reflection, even if it was really smooth. But it adds to some interest, and also we're going to do some long exposure work, and so you get some of the lights and the lines and the patterns from the headlights of the cars that you can't see, but you can see on the sides of the bridges. So just have a look here. You'll just see a car as it comes along. You see, it just has a bit of decoration. So it's a good starting point, right? It's a pretty cool shot. I like it. It has a bit of competition in terms of the subject can be dwarfed by those lights in the road, and some have to dull them down and fix them up. I also like the fishing boat that's just hanging there, some guys fishing, and then there's a couple of people on the other side of the water. They're just having a chat about something. I'm not sure what they're having a chat about, but it's probably none of my business. So it's got some intrigue in the shot. And what I did, what you always have to make sure with long exposure, you kind of have to do, you do three things. So first of all is you take off vibration reduction on your lens. So you turn that off. Second of all, you put it in manual focus, which gives you the ability to zoom in. And I use this button here, which you would have on all your cameras to zoom in. And so look at this, I can zoom in, and then I can maneuver that where I want it to be. So I went right at the top. So I looked at these little pink lights with their windows, and I made that as absolutely sharp as absolutely possible. So that's the second thing. And then the third thing is you put a 2-second timer on, because this, look how much this has shake. Like, it's so easily to shake. And then look at this, if I go like this, look how much that's shaking. And so you might even want a 5-second timer on something when you're zoomed in so much and you're using such heavy gear. You don't want any movement at all, and so the best way to do that is to have a timer. So you press your button, you touch your camera, you let go, everything settles, and then it's able to take the shot. So what I'm going to do with this next shot is I feel like I need some light burst in it. And the only way to get light burst is to put your aperture all the way to, say, 18 or 20. The aperture on this lens goes to 22. So if I shoot on 18, I should be able to get a really clear, sharp shot, but have some light burst involved. But that means the shutter speed that you need on your shot gets to 30, and look, it's still 2 stops under. So if I go more than 30, watch what happens. I go 60 and my light meter disappears, and so I'm like, oh no, I don't know how to set it, but I do, because if I look at my light meter, you look at that light meter, you'll see that that is 2 stops under, so it's 2 stops underexposed. And so I need to allow the exposure for 2 extra stops. And I know from 30 seconds, 1 extra stop is 60 seconds, and 1 extra stop on top of that is 120 seconds. So I can correctly expose this shot based on the matrix metering, based on all the light in the photograph, by going up to 120, pressing the shutter, and getting this shot. Now, as the camera takes that shot right now, I realise that I'm using the extended exposure. So the Nikon Z9 has the opportunity to go extended exposure, which means you can shoot all the way up to 900 seconds, which is 5 minutes. Now, I realise for some of you that don't have a camera like this, you can't do that, so it's quite frustrating. But I want to show you how you calculate stops and how you think about stops of light when you perhaps don't need to rely on the light meter, or you want to allow for a filter, which is what we're going to put on next, just to demonstrate what we get out of that result by putting a filter on at night when you really don't need it, but we're going to do it anyway. You know what I was saying before about this being a dodgy part of town? The people are so friendly. It's 10:30 at night, there's all sorts of people riding past and walking past, and then all of them are like, so sorry for getting your shot, they'll give me a smile, they're saying g'day. So I retract what I said. This is the friendliest part of town, easy, second to none, apart from Burleigh. I love Burleigh, live in Burleigh. Burleigh, you've got a bit of improvement to do. The people on the north side of Southport, Sundale Bridge, are at the moment the friendliest on the Gold Coast. I said it. I made a lot of enemies, but I said it. Okay, you'll see from these shots, let me put them next to each other, they've got the same edit on them, and you'll see the difference in character. The one with the light burst really pops, and I like how for some reason it's actually exposed more correctly, so the light on the bridge doesn't look so overt and so strong, even though the exposure was on for a lot longer. I would back the one with sunburst, so with starburst, so with light burst. And you're also going, where the heck's your beanie? Beanie's here. Turns out it's not that cold after all. Winter has not started yet after all. No beanie tonight. Sorry if some of you may have already he's got no beanie on, I'm logging off. So thanks for those of you that stuck around to see the beanie story, beanie saga as it's continued. Okay, now what I'm going to do is put on, so Nissi sent me some filters to test. They're brand new, they're yet to go on the market. I think they're called the FS brand, and they are amazing. And I've done a review of them just here, so you can go and check them out yourself. They're just I just love them. They're so easy to use, they're so effective. And what I'm going to do is put a 3-stopper on here. I'm going to shoot as far higher, as long exposure as I possibly can, and we're going to see if what that does when you put a neutral density filter on a night shot. Fanning, and the one that I want is this one. The 3-stopper is the ring, so this pushes onto the ring, pushes in, nice fit there. But my challenge for the day is this is an 82mm and my 70-200 is a 77mm, and so you need what's called a step-up ring. And a step-up ring steps up from 77mm to 82mm. So I'm going to put this on the lens, then I'm going to put this on the lens, and then I'm going to put this on the lens, and we're going to be good to go. Now I use Nissi filter rings because they seem to not warp. They're made of brass, they don't warp, and they're easy to remove. So you put that on, that's the initial step-up ring. See, it's got a lot of thread there. And then you have the mounting ring, which nicely fits on the 82mm that you have now. You just got to put it on nice and straight, and then once it takes, look at that, you can do one-handed. If you're a one-handed photographer, you can use these filter kits. And you don't go super tight, you just go firm tight. So that's firm, you can easily undo it. Firm blocks out all the light, but it means you can actually get it off. And then here's these sick filters. It tells you on the side what it is, and this one is 3 stops, and that's what I want for today. And you simply put the black part out and you push it on, so it just links in there, and you just push it on. Again, one hand. Man, I'm really hoping my one-handed thing actually is secure and I'm not just fooling myself and I break these beautiful, beautiful filters. And you just make sure there's an even amount here as there is down here, which I'm pretty sure there is. And we've got a 3-stop. That means I can increase my exposure by 3 stops. So if I'm shooting on 30 seconds, 3 stops from that is 30 to 60, that's 1, 60 to 120 is 2, and 120 to 240 is 3 stops. So you can put this on and take a 240 second exposure, or if you're using time or using bulb, you can just time it on your watch. And so you can make this shoot a lot longer. On this particular instance where I started, my thing was at 240, so if I go 240, it goes 480, that's 1 stop, 480 goes to 900. I can't shoot more than 900 on the set shutter display. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to shoot at 900, but I'll back off on my aperture. I'll take my aperture down a stop. But we're just going to play around with this. I've got my ISO in there as well. ISO's set at 64. I'm not too precious about that tonight, but I just wanted to show you what happens when you muck about with your shutter speed to get the most out of the light, and your aperture to get those pops of light. So let's give this a crack and see how it turns out. The other interesting thing to do is when you're taking this sort of photography or doing this sort of thing, if you leave your tripod absolutely stationary and your camera in exactly the same position, you can layer shots, you can put the shots on top of each other, you can bring out some of the lights, you can preserve some of the highlights, you can draw out some of the shadows, and you can reduce the number of the noise. So it gives you some creative options, but only if you keep your camera in exactly the same position without mucking about with it or turning it or moving it. And so you've got to commit to your shot early. You've got to know the shot you want, you've got to commit to that early, and then stay put. You'll notice as the shots keep going, the lights on Q1 start turning off because it's getting later and later. So the best time to take this shot probably would have been about 8:30, but I was watching TV at 8:30 with Lyndall. But you come in the morning and it's terrible. Like, you can come in the morning when it's still dark, but you won't get any lights at all. But I'm going to layer these photos on. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take a number of f20 at 120 seconds on 64 ISO, and I'm going to layer them together, and this is the result. Well, I hope you've learned something tonight. I hope it's been fun. I hope if nothing else, you've seen the effect that putting a ND filter, a neutral density filter, for a night shot. If you're ever in a scenario where you're like really long, maybe you're doing light trails, you need a really long exposure, then that's the way to go. And what I'm going to do now is, just as we wrap up, I'm going to go back to that place that I was talking about at the start. I'm going to do some long exposure shots. I want to thank you for watching. Please subscribe, enjoy the images, and I'll catch you in the next video. Bye.